everybody. Welcome to Century's Learning. We have the new webinar series. So this is the fourth in our webinar series of Century Learning. And today we are coming to you from, I'm in Rochester, New York. Graham, one of my coworkers at Century, is in Inverness, Scotland. Hi, Graham.
Hi, Michelle. How's it going?
How you doing? Very well, thank you. And our special guest today is Chris Badgett, who is coming to us from Maine. And I just love the internet. We're all in the internet business, so it's not unusual for us to be able to communicate across, as we say, across the pond. I love that they call the Atlantic the pond, and around the world. But Chris, I appreciate you being here with us today to talk about learning management systems, which is a huge, hot topic right now, given all the stay at home and quarantine and all that's going on with COVID-19. So why don't you give us a little bit about yourself and Lifter LMS and your take on what's going on in the world?
Sure. So Lifter LMS is a learning management system for WordPress. So that's for creating courses, training-based membership sites, company training portals, really any kind of learning environment that you want to design on your website. And if you want to own and control that, and have it be infinitely customizable and scalable, WordPress is the way to go for that. But I'm just a homeschooling dad who lives on a little farm on the coast of Maine. Lifter LMS is almost 6 years old at this point. I've been in WordPress for about 10 years, and I'm just super happy and fortunate to be able to help other education entrepreneurs around the world. I consider education entrepreneurs anybody who is lifting up other people through education, whether that's a traditional teacher, a subject matter expert, or company or nonprofit. There's lots of different vectors into educational entrepreneurship, but that's what makes me tick. So we exist, both my personal mission and company mission, to lift up others through education. And we also want to be a model for how to do freemium in WordPress. So we try to give away as much value as we can for free in our free WordPress plugin, but also in free courses, free training, free community building activities, WordCamp sponsorships, and things like that. So that's what I'm all about. My company's all about.
I love that. I love that that's what the name represents as well. Lifter is lifting others through education. That's fantastic. And I have to say, I haven't looked at your whole course schedule yet to see how many courses there are for specific courses, but I'm on your mailing list. And if you don't have a class out there already, a course on how to use email for marketing and that kind of thing, you need to have one, because you have perfected sending out the right titles, things that make me click through, all of that. I don't get an email from you and think, oh my God, another email from Chris. I'm like, oh, what's he got now? So yeah, so make sure that you're sharing that out, because you do a really, really good job of that. So
I appreciate that. Marketing is a favorite topic of mine, especially for courses. And if you're an expert, it's one thing to make the website and the platform, but you got to be able to sell and market in an ethical, authentic way. And yeah, I'm super passionate about that. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, you have been on my podcast. It's not published yet. It's coming out soon, I promise. But one of the things that I talked to you about was maybe setting up my own class at some point on using TikTok. And so I'm still formulating what marketing on TikTok looks like, but I think that's going to be that'll be my first foray into creating an online class. So stand by on that one.
I'm excited. I actually just got on TikTok about 2 weeks ago, and I find it super addicting, super interesting, super different. And I'd love to learn from you how to leverage it for business purposes.
It is definitely a rabbit hole for sure. It's like when YouTube, you would start searching things, and you're like, where did 3 hours go? But the thing is, they're 60-second or less videos, and you could literally spend hours consuming content on there. It's purely addictive, absolutely. So one of the things I want to say, we do have some watchers, some live watchers, which I always love. If you're watching, go ahead and sign in, because if you sign into StreamYard, we can see your name. And then when you have questions, we know who you are. But if you do have questions, Chris said, let's bring them on. You don't have to wait till the end. So if you have questions, go ahead and post them either in the chat on YouTube or the chat on our Facebook live going on, and we'll make sure that Chris is able to help answer those questions as we go. So, without any further ado, Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you for your presentation. We're really looking forward to hearing all about Lifter LMS and how learning management systems can really help move companies forward in 2020.
Awesome.
The floor is yours.
All right. Well, I'm just going to share my screen here. And is that coming up? There it goes.
Yep.
So are we see the first slide full screen?
We do.
All right. So this presentation is about how to expand your impact and drive business growth with a LMS on your website in 2020 and beyond. And what I'm going to get into are some trends that are happening out there in society, some various use cases like you heard me talk about in the introduction. There's different ways to use the learning management system for WordPress. And then I'm going to nerd out on the technology a little bit. And I've got some for everybody, whether you're a beginner or you're a DIYer or a freelancer or agency yourself. So I introduced myself. I'm Chris Badgett, CEO and co-founder of Lifter LMS. I have a podcast for people building WordPress LMSs for themselves and clients. It's approaching 300 episodes called LMS Cast. Education and online education specifically is my life's work. We're just getting started. I'm so excited to get into it with you today. And this is really what my professional life is all about. So I'm excited to have the ability to share it with you today. So there's three kind of types of people we help with Lifter LMS, or really any learning management system. There's kind of these different angles in besides the use cases, which are the builders, the people who build the sites, the agency owners, the freelancers, the WordPress professionals, the marketing agencies. There's the starters. These are the DIY professionals who want to take control of their online training platform and build it themselves. And then there's the switchers, like Nick over here on my screen, who switched from a hosted course platform, a SaaS or software solution, over to WordPress because he wanted more flexibility, control, and the ability to build a unique brand, which is what makes WordPress so special as a platform. So there's a couple trends I want to get into, why now is the time to really focus on learning management systems if you haven't thought about it, or doing an online course, or doing a membership site or coaching program, or focusing your agency on this niche. So the first is really that online education is going mainstream. And this is before the pandemic of 2020. E-learning or online education has been around for a very long time. Often, you know, the early adopters being in things like computer programming, learning that kind of thing online, typically computer science programs at typical community colleges and universities couldn't really keep up because the technology is changing so fast. So these were some of like the early adopters of e-learning or online education. Has been happening for over a decade. But now really everybody's coming. We've seen this with like the popularity of platforms like Udemy or Masterclass, where you can like learn comedy from Steve Martin, or anybody can publish a course on Udemy, that sort of thing. Online education is really, at this point in time, going mainstream. The next is just statistically, the e-learning industry is heading towards a $300 billion market cap by 2025. So this industry is growing incredibly fast. It has been for years. There's different reasons that cause this accelerated growth, from bandwidth connectivity to companies looking to do things more efficiently, to colleges and universities looking to get more enrollments outside of geographic barriers and stuff like that. But there's the ability for the internet to hold and deliver video at greater and greater speeds. There's a lot of factors that are pushing this statistic. The next thing is the global pandemic education system disruption, which happened or began really, at least in the United States, in early March of 2020. But this really turned the mainstream attention to this option in a really big way, and just accelerated interest and focus on creating online learning solutions for various use cases. And the next factor really ties back into that speed thing I was talking about, 5G, internet connectivity being on the rise, which does several things. It allows for faster transfer of video. We're seeing entire nations kind of, especially in the developing world, just kind of jump straight into high-speed internet, even in rural areas. Definitely with an increase on mobile e-learning usage. But the proliferation of 5G really removes even more barriers to what's required to create learning environments online. And the next is tool accessibility. This is a picture of like a YouTuber, just making videos. Anybody can start a podcast. Anybody can start a YouTube channel. Anybody can build a WordPress website or start up as a consultant or freelancer in that industry. The tools have never been more accessible. The power of what you could create just with your smartphone or your laptop and a couple other pieces of tech gear, it's really amazing how easy it can be to get started with what used to require big production budgets. So to get into a couple of the use cases here, you can build an online course. We hear a lot of talk these days about building a digital course, especially now during the pandemic times, especially as careers are disrupted and people are looking for ways to work from home or build revenue streams from home. There's just the demand for learning how to create an online course has never been higher. This is Esther, one of our customers. She created, 3 years ago, I saw her start this mission to create an online course for military spouses looking to figure out how to become virtual assistants, since they were always like moving with the military and couldn't really, they wanted to start a business, but they needed it to be location independent. She figured it out. She's teaching people how to do that now. She's using our tool Lifter LMS to power her platform, and now she's making $50,000 a month doing her course, helping military spouses build these careers, which is really quite amazing. The next is a training-based membership site. This is bigger than just like a course or signature program, I like to call it. This is where we do something like online coaching, or we really stack a lot of things together, like what Melissa Love here has done. She was one of the first people to create a Divi child theme for WordPress. She is an amazing designer in the UK, and she created this membership site for people trying to level up on their design skills and their marketing ability as digital consultants. She's using Lifter LMS. She's got, courses in there. She has guest webinars. She has a library of like digital assets. She has a calendar of events. She has special perks and deals she worked out for her members. So this is a more complex membership site built with Lifter LMS. And this is a course marketplace. This is WP101. I think this might be the largest WordPress training site on the internet. Sean Hesketh's site. He mentioned in an interview, so I share it publicly. This is old information, maybe 3 years old. At that time, he had 30,000 members in this, in his WordPress training site, which now has somewhere around 10 different instructors on there teaching on various topics related to the most popular tools in the WordPress ecosystem. And then there's a less obvious form of using a learning management system where you do education-based marketing and onboarding. This is where the LMS is not really the main event of a business, but it's used for creating your email list or educating your prospects or your customers. You can see here, this is Adrian Toby's tool called Groundhog, which is a marketing automation and CRM tool for WordPress. He uses Lifter LMS to generate leads, showing how his software works, and also to educate people how to use it after they buy. And he also uses it to create a certified partner program to empower WordPress professionals to be able to provide services that he can refer business to. So that's another use case. And the last, I'll just call internal training. This is where we're doing things like safety training or other kinds of workplace training, where inside of a company, we might be, when someone gets hired, there's a training program in place where the entry-level training to onboard into a new position has already been captured into a digital format to help be more efficient and accelerate progress of somebody joining a new role at a company.
In regard to that last one, Chris, just to kind of put things in perspective a little bit. So I know I'm older than everybody else on this call right now, but back in 1987, when I first started working for Wendy's restaurants, our internal video training like that was literally 5 VHS tapes that we had to sit in the back office and swap in and out and rewind afterwards. So we've come a long way since then. And I understand that some companies like even like Starbucks and companies like that, they have internal websites where they're using things like Lifter LMS to train their employees on even how the recipes and how those kind of things work using those internal videos. So I think that's a great use of how to use online management systems for sure.
And you bring up a great point, Michelle. Like, even though those were VHS tapes, in 1987, which was a long time ago, like 33 years ago.
Not that long ago.
People were already creating digitized, or I don't know what you call it digitized, but they were kind of using video to capture training. So this is not new, but what is happening is it's going super mainstream, and it's never been easier.
Right, absolutely.
So there's some problems in the LMS landscape, which I'll just touch on briefly. One of those is what I call the software Frankenstein. This is one of the challenges of WordPress, actually, is I see people, especially beginners, get really excited and they start stringing together, 20, 30, 40 different plugins to try to achieve the result of a learning management system or a course. And they end up building this thing that's a little overbuilt, over-engineered with too many tools, not designed to work together. It also happens outside of WordPress where people just have their tech stack is too spread out that it's really hard for the technology becomes a barrier. It's not really an enabler, and it gets pretty exhausting. So that's a problem in our industry. The other is a lack of monetization. Sometimes I'll just use an example of like a YouTuber or a podcaster even, or a blogger can be really prolific in subject matter expertise and content, but they haven't slowed down enough to like define a kind of a customer avatar and really build a learning path and create a program that they can sell. That's a big problem in our space. So I see a lot of smart people sitting on opportunity. The next is content theft. This is where, people are publishing training materials, but don't really have it locked down as best they can. There's no perfect solution on the internet because, ultimately, if somebody really wants to buy your program and record the screen or share your digital downloads, they can do that. But if the site is not set up properly with the right tech stack, they're just leaving their intellectual property open for theft. The other thing is low engagement. This is the dirty little secret of membership sites, I call it. This is where, back in the late 2000s, early 2000s, leading up to 2010, there was a lot of talk about membership sites, which is kind of an older school term of like, we just need to take this content, put it behind a paywall, lock it down. And then when people pay and go over the paywall, they'll get into our program. And really the WordPress LMS industry was built off of the problem of that, which was people would go over these paywalls, then not really complete the training or complete very little of it, ask for a refund and so on, which is where the LMS industry was born to really structure the content, structure the learning journey, and, add a lot more layers of gamification and stuff to increase engagement. And the last is no flexibility in being trapped, sort of like marketing automation. If you've ever worked with whatever your favorite marketing automation email list platform, it's kind of a pain to move later. This is really a problem in the LMS industry. If you build on the wrong tool for what your goals are, it's painful to move later, and you end up kind of running out of options, especially outside of WordPress, and you can feel trapped. So here's my promise to you about using WordPress for your LMS. One is it's going to unlock creative freedom. There's a lot of talk in courses and membership sites, coaching programs, if you're creating these things, that you create financial freedom and the freedom to impact the world, change the world in a certain way. But there's one that's overlooked a lot, which is creative freedom. This is where you get to kind of work how you want to work, teach how you want to teach, and really have control over your creative expression. The next is these WordPress LMS platforms allow you to sell and maximize revenue, protect your content, engage your learners, and really connect to the tools that you're already using or even extend with custom development and that sort of thing. So as I get into it, there's 3 big ideas I'd like you to consider. One is that the value of an all-in-one solution that has like the 80% of what you need already there, and then still has room for that 20% to just connect in the tools you're already using, like a MailChimp or a ConvertKit as an example. And then designing programs around results and information, not just information. This is what we learned in 2007, 2008, 2010, in the early days of internet marketing and information product launches, as we were selling info products, information, but these programs weren't really designed around learning objectives and getting results for learners, even in challenging circumstances. So that's where a well-designed implementation of an LMS can create transformational programs, not just kind of protect access to content and sell access. And the last idea to consider is really to connect with anything. The tools you're already using, or using something like Zapier or whatever to get to where you need to go with other apps, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So there's really 3 top benefits of working with a WordPress LMS that can help you to create, sell, engage, protect, and connect. So I'm going to break these down. I'm going to start with this creative freedom, the ability to create. So if we get into this is Lifter, the course builder screen. This is where you can design an entire course from one screen. You can like drill in and go out to other places of the program and into individual lessons and whatnot. But to have this high-level organization of a course is super valuable. If you've used WordPress before, you know that things can be all over the place. So this is kind of the unifying interface to really design that table of contents. And even you can even add the videos and create everything from this one screen if you want to. The other thing is you can create any training and business model. So whether it's like a simple course site, or a course with a coaching upsell, or a membership site with all this stuff going on, like we mentioned with Melissa, or a multi-instructor online school that has, a la carte pricing and maybe or a membership pricing or a private coaching upsell. All this is possible with Lifter LMS. And then you can build a unique brand and design. So these are just some examples of a few sites using Lifter LMS. They all look very different. If you go to a hosted LMS or course or membership tool, they kind of all look the same. But in WordPress, anything's possible. You can really go in any direction, a lot further than just swapping out the logo and the brand color palette. The next thing you can do is you can create compliance flexibility. This is one of the things I love about the WordPress community, is the focus on making sure things are accessible and privacy concerns are taken advantage of. Just side note, Lifter LMS story, we were one of the first WordPress plugins on the repo to roll out GDPR compliance when that whole show came to town. And it's really important when you're designing a learning environment where the website is the business or the program. It's not just a marketing site, to take whatever your privacy or your other legal or just general some kind of compliance thing you need to get people to agree to, whether you're working with minors or whatever. You need to be able to create whatever kind of compliance you need to if that's an issue. And the other is to just create enrollment your way. This is just a screenshot of what's called the access plan system in Lifter LMS. So in the old days, this is basically what a membership plugin does. And this is just kind of one small part of Lifter in this case, where you can control access to this course. You can set any pricing, business model, free trial, paid trial, recurring payments, one-time payments, lifetime access, or limited time access. All this stuff can be done from this one simple interface. The next thing you can do with a WordPress LMS is sell. So this is where it becomes important to package and monetize, like we were talking about WP 101 earlier. So in this case, you have individual courses which can be purchased individually or purchased in membership bundles. So you have both options. That's what this website owner chose to do. So you need something that's flexible that can, a lot of us might start with one course and then maybe we expand to a membership or coaching program later, or we turn our one thing into an entire school. That requires you to be able to package and monetize in different ways. The other thing is to grow your email list. I share this story a lot. Our number one driver of email list growth is this official quick start course for Lifter LMS, which you see in the top left of this screen. So as of this recording, Lifter LMS has had over 50,000 people join our email list. And this course is the number one, this free course is the number one driver of people joining our email list. We believe that, actually demonstrating the product, showing the product, and showing people what it's like to use it in a free training is better than any kind of marketing kind of thing that is just like, we just believe in show and tell, not just tell. So we show people what it's like to use the product in this, what I call a free course lead magnet. Today, I'm actually re-recording this course because it has to be updated every year or so. So that's, you can use LMS also to generate leads. My biggest piece of advice with somebody's just getting started, especially if you're in the expert use case, is to start on day one with a free course lead magnet, a small course that so you can start collecting those emails and get outside of what I call the course creation cave, where people go and disappear for years, never to return. The next thing is to be able to sell and maximize profit. So you can have a coaching upsell. You can have a community that's part of your site. So like, for example, Lifter has a social learning add-on, a private areas add-on, which allows you to add these kind of coaching components or community components. And there's other great tools in the WordPress ecosystem like Buddy Boss, which is adding, really trying to figure out and optimize the closest thing we could get to like a Facebook and WordPress. So being able to upsell different layers of access to experts and community is another thing. The other thing is selling recurring revenue. So the easiest thing you can add to a course, if you're thinking about doing one for yourself to create more income, is, a course by itself really only has a one-time price, and maybe you put a payment plan on it, but it's still just a payment plan. But if you add a weekly office hours call, like a Zoom or something that you jump on to help people, even if you don't prepare for it, now you're getting into recurring value. So if you have recurring value, then you can charge recurring revenue. So it's important to be able to have that flexibility to sell both ways. The other thing is to be able to sell and get paid in advance. So Lifter has these features where, you could create a course. We could create a course on this call right now. We could put a future start date on it, this enable course time period thing you say. We can hook it up so it's ready for sale, and then send an email out or post on social media and see if anybody buys it. This is where you get paid in advance for a course that starts in the future. There's nothing more motivating than pre-selling a course, seeing people buy it, and having them anxiously ready for you to start doing it. And that's what I call customer financing. It's one of the best ways to if you have limited resources, pre-sell the thing, and that it'll motivate you too to do the work and make sure you're building the right product. The next thing is that engagement piece. So I mentioned the results revolution being something where in the old way, we would just have paywalls and sell access to unstructured information. A WordPress LMS site that's set up well is really designed around the results of your learners. So this is just a view of our social learning student directory. One of the things that helps people learn is being with other people going through the same experience that can help each other and connect. So it's just an example of how we're literally designing the tool around what works in the offline world to create learning results and learning communities, providing a digital way to do that. The next is to really understand your learners. So a big part of a learning management system is having robust analytics and data that the instructors and the website owner can look at so that they can see where people are stalling out, see what's going on. They can export the data if they want to do something in a spreadsheet or whatever. This analytics is super important so that you can continue to optimize your platform for engagement, see where people are getting stuck, see where they're excelling and passing and failing if you get into quizzes and that sort of thing. And the next thing is progress control. If you're a prolific expert and you know a lot of things, it's easy to overwhelm the learner. So if you want to, do drip content or have lessons be chained together through a series of prerequisites, you can do that. And then also there's the gamification piece. So this is where as people, unlock certain milestones, they can start earning achievement badges or get certificates or get text messages and stuff like that. This is the gamification element. In terms of protecting your content, this is just an example view of a Lifter LMS course syllabus. And you can see somebody's like hovering over the lessons and they realize, oh, they have to enroll in the course. Maybe it has a price tag on it. Maybe it's a free course, but it's important to keep your content safe, to just protect it and maintain ownership of your intellectual property. Individual user accounts. So as somebody, enrolls in a course, they get their own student dashboard, their own progress tracking, and they're really their own dashboard that has all their unique things on there from the courses they're in, the notifications, the achievement badges, and all that stuff.
Is that tied into the users, the WordPress user list? So they become a user account, so to speak?
It is. So the WordPress user database is kind of the master database. Mm-hmm. Lifter, as an example, just adds more information to it, creates a new role called a student. There's also more roles like teacher, instructor, instructor's assistant, and so on. Nice. But yeah, it's all just kind of, we took the best of WordPress and just added on top of it.
Nice.
So that's how that works. And by the way, we do have a WooCommerce integration. So if you're already using WooCommerce to sell stuff and you want to add courses and memberships, you can do that too. In a similar way, WooCommerce uses the WordPress users, and then they have this role called customers and just kind of builds on top of that. Mm-hmm. And the next thing to do is just to protect with privacy controls. So this is where you can, really establish your legal and your privacy stuff and require people to agree on checkout and stuff like that. And the next thing is connection. So connecting to your favorite WordPress tools that you're already using. Like we have an integration, for example, with WP Forms, Ninja Forms, Formidable, Gravity Forms, and more. But really, because this is WordPress, there's some tools that Lifter has deeper integration with, and there's many tools that have added Lifter LMS integration. This is one of the beauties of WordPress is you can really create something custom and use the tools you're already kind of know and love in the ecosystem. Mm-hmm. The other thing is the Lifter was we're on the Zapier app directory. So this is where you can connect with 2,000 other apps, and this is like a proper Zap listing on Zapier. At the time when we released that several months ago, I think there was only 10 or 12 WordPress plugins listed in the Zapier app directory. So that's a good one just if you really need to connect in with some other tool like Zoom or Google Sheets, or I don't know. There's tons of them out there. It's as boundless as your creativity. We've also got a robust REST API. So this is really, nerd alert here. So if this looks crazy, don't worry about it. This is just something that's relevant to people that developers who want to extend Lifter, like for example, build a pairing mobile app to go with the web application powered by WordPress, or for other WordPress plugin developers to very easily hook in their tools to Lifter LMS. We're a big believers in the power of the WordPress community, both product creators and developers and implementers. So we want to make it easy to really integrate into Lifter LMS as fast as possible. So that's what that is. And I've got, I think I'm going to jump to a demo of Lifter. So let me jump out of here and stop sharing my screen for a second and switch to a sample website here. So let me bring this over and show how easy it is. I've been talking a lot and there's a lot going on, but you can actually build a course really quickly. And I just want to show you what it's like. So I'm going to share my screen and let me know can you see Zoom? How to use Zoom course? Okay. So basically this is a course right here on a WordPress site called Zoom for Beginners. We've got a course featured image, some course information here, a couple lessons. We've got a one-time payment of $1,000, a payment plan option. So this is just a basic course right here. So just to show you how easy this is to build, this is that same site here. I'm just going to go into the back end of WordPress. And you can see the lifters installed here. This whole area, Lifter, courses, memberships, engagements, orders. This site has our private areas add-on installed. So this is the private post thing. This is all the Lifter area right here.
Nice.
So if I go into courses and I click add course, I'm going to just call this a Zoom for beginners. Learn how to Zoom. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I'm just going to go ahead and publish it. And
our users might be interested to know that it looks like you work with Gutenberg. So some of our users haven't switched over to the Gutenberg block editor. So that might be of interest to them.
Yeah, so Lifter has some blocks over here specifically, so you can build your own custom course templates. We have a lot of users who don't use Gutenberg and use like Elementor or Divi or Beaver Builder or just the old editor. All of the options can work. So let me show you this part here. I'm just going to add a featured image here. And here's our image for how to Zoom course. I'm going to update it. And then down here, you see this little launch course builder. This is how we open up the ability to create a course from one screen. So there's nothing here. I'm going to add a section. We'll just call this section introduction. And I'm just going to close this Zoom yard. Can you still see my screen?
Yep.
Cool. There's a little pop-up there. And then this is how easy it is to build it out. So I'm just adding a bunch of lessons. And I'm just going to add another section here. Add some more lessons. You get the idea. So we can kind of build our table of contents here. And if we go look at this course, you can see it's already coming together. Look how fast this is coming together. And of course, we could, you know, build out a bigger description and talk more, add more information and course categories and things like that. But it's coming together here. And then just to show you how easy it is, I'm just going to go into it this way. Launch the course builder again. Expand out everything. If I click on this lesson, I can just drop in like my private Vimeo Pro video for this lesson, and really just build out the course content all from this one screen if I want to. If I want to get fancy, I can just like jump over to this WordPress post, which is this lesson. And I could be using Elementor, I could be using Beaver Builder, I could be using the classic editor, I could be using Gutenberg to start building out, you know, lesson content. So, and I can move that stuff around. And I could also start adding quizzes. Let me show you what that's like. I'll just get back over to it. Where was my course?
We'll have to quiz Graham later on the internet use in Scotland, as his internet gave out on him.
Oh, no.
We'll build him a course later.
No worries. So I'm just launching the course builder again. And you can see I got this quiz deal. So I can start, you know, creating a quiz and have all these different question types I can use, like multiple choice, and I can start, you know, what color is the sky? I won't do the whole thing, but I'm just showing you how easy it is to kind of add a quiz to a lesson. And then the last thing I just really want to show you in my lightning fast demo here, going back to the WordPress view of the course, is the access plans down here. So I'm just going to click add new. I'm just going to call one-time payment. And we'll just do that. We'll just change it up and call it $2,000. And it's for lifetime access. And we'll save that. And if somebody can't, you know, come up with that, we might create a payment plan, which is going to be $400 every month for
all time. I like that.
For 6 months, because we're just doing a payment plan for all time. We could do that, but it would never stop. And then I'm just going to click save. And then if we view the course on the front end, you can see we've just built this entire course. Now, if I was doing this for real, like as a course creator, I find there's two types of people. There's top-down people who like to organize essentially the structure like this, and then go create the content. Or there's people that like to make all the content. Maybe they have worksheets and everything, and then they come to the tool to build it out. There's no right or wrong answer. There's a couple different ways of doing it. But that's just a lightning tour of how quickly you can get a course up and running with Lifter LMS.
So what it looks like to me is you've kind of taken the sting out of creating the course itself. So the hardest part, as it should be, is actually creating your own content. Like, what do you want to teach? What do you want to build? And then these are the tools, put it together quickly. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the ultimate challenge. And if you're an agency, is like, we call it getting the content problem, or getting content from the client.
Right. Yeah.
If you're doing it for somebody else, the site, like the architecture, we make it easy to do that, but you got to make the course content. And our course builder helps people think through it a little bit, because just like writing a book, if you were to approach the project with a table of contents, at least kind of loose, you can always change it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least we start with that. The overwhelm of like, I have this giant creative project. Now I have bite-sized pieces I can chip away at. So
it's so funny you said that. I do personal coaching, and one of my customers is writing a book. And so I used that exact analogy last night. I said, don't just write free form. Let's come up with a plan and then fill it in and look for the gap analysis and things like that. What are the gaps? What is missing? And building a course is very, very much like that. So before you said it's just like writing a book, I was going to go, it's just like writing a book.
That's awesome. Well, that's pretty much it. I do have, I'll just show one more thing here on my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get this up. So I do have, if you're watching this, I do have a special coupon code. If you decide you want to try out Lifter LMS, just head on over to lifterlms.com. And if you use the coupon code SENTRY, you can get 15% off of anything we make. So that's just something there for everybody if you're interested. And I just want to say thank you. Like I said, I'm here to lift up others through education. And yeah, thanks for letting me share my best, greatest work with you all, and for the opportunity.
Let me share with you some of the comments we've gotten. We're open to questions, people. So if you're watching, ask questions. But Newton Martin said, this is a very good presentation. So that was really nice to hear. And then Kathy Ector, who I know here in Rochester, is watching. She said, this is great. Many aha moments, which is great. She and her husband have their own personal businesses, and they're teaching things. And so this is actually something that they've been asking for information about, which is fantastic. So I was writing down some notes. I don't know if it might have looked like I was not paying attention, but I've been taking notes as you've been talking. So I have some questions for you.
All right.
Okay. So you mentioned Zapier, and you mentioned building your email list through that introduction course. So I'm wondering how you connect to CRMs. Do you have a way, like, let's say you have HubSpot or that kind of thing. Can I use Zapier to connect my my attendees or my students over into my CRM?
I love this question. All right, there's many ways. I'm going to give you the top 4.
Okay, great.
So the easiest, we have a MailChimp and ConvertKit integration directly. So if you use one of those, you just install our add-on, put in your API keys, and you're good to go. Mm-hmm. The next is, there's a very popular plugin in our community called WP Fusion, mm-hmm. which connects to 40 different CRMs. And it's awesome. And it does a lot of more detailed tagging. So as people do different things throughout the course, you can apply tags in your CRM. So if you're an advanced marketing automation tagging person, check out WP Fusion. The next is, there's a great WordPress. If you want to keep it all within WordPress, mm-hmm. there's a WordPress CRM called Groundhog that's very popular in our community. Check mm-hmm. that out. Option number 4 is what you just mentioned, which is Zapier, which is also a great option as well.
And I noticed just this week, I read an article from WordPress.com about Jetpack CRM. So Jetpack's come out with their CRM now, and I assume that you'll have integration for that, either through one of those, Fusion or something else, or a direct link at some point. So
absolutely,
mention that too. Okay, keep on moving with more of my questions. So you have, many people know I also work for GiveWP. And so some of the questions I get there, I'm assuming are similar to the questions you get there, because we do have a freemium model. So the free, we have a free version. You have Lifter LMS is in the WordPress plugin directory / repository, whatever verbiage people are used to. And then we have custom add-ons. So premium add-ons that we're paying for. With ours, you can buy them a la carte. Do you have a plan where you can just pay one price and get all of your add-ons?
We do. So we have basically, there's somewhere around 20 add-ons. Mm-hmm. Many of them, like 60% of them, are in what we call the Universe Bundle. And mm-hmm. then we have the Everything Bundle, which we call the Infinity Bundle. But if you just want to pick and choose, you can get anything a la carte as well. So I think it's very similar to GiveWP in that way.
And then you have payment gateway add-ons as well. So if I wanted to connect to Stripe or PayPal or Authorize.net, I'm able to do that to collect payments.
Correct. And if you're using WooCommerce, which has its own ecosystem of payment gateways, we have a direct integration with WooCommerce as well.
Fantastic. Let's see, what other questions did I have on here? Blogging. So I was wondering how you can integrate, because we know that blogging is a great way to build organic SEO.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that, especially for free courses, that you can use some of the course content for SEO too, as long as you're not putting it behind the paywall, so to speak. But how can you integrate coursework with blogging to kind of pull those things together?
I love this question. I'm going to take it from a couple different angles. This is one of my favorite questions because I like to help people not get overwhelmed. So first of all, I just want to say there's a strategy I teach. We have a blog post on our site about how to get course leads from YouTube. And essentially what it does, there's a whole methodology between 3 videos you should create that are then going to lead to your free course, which then points to your paid course. And I didn't show it in my demo, but there's a feature in Lifter LMS where you can make certain lessons open to the public, which is also open to search engines. So really, it's about building a funnel without overcomplicating it. So if I'm writing a blog post, I would think about it this way. This is why creating the free mini quick start course, whatever that means in your subject matter expertise, is the way to go, because the sooner you make that, the sooner you can start linking to that as a call to action from your blog posts to, like, if you like this post, check out my free course on blah, blah, blah. And then they go enroll. And then you got the email, you're showing them your teaching style, you're building trust. Now they have a user on your account. They're not just an anonymous visitor. And if you do have something to sell them, whether it's a signature course, a bigger course, or a membership of some kind, coaching program, you're ready to go with that. So, and I haven't announced it anywhere, but we have something, a new block plugin coming out soon that will help bloggers kind of dip their toe in the water of kind of a mini LMS experience before making the full commitment to go full WordPress LMS. So that's something that's coming out soon as well.
Oh, exciting. You heard it here first, folks. I pull information from people like you wouldn't believe. Okay, next question. And I'm trying to be responsive of your time as well. So the next question is, you don't have to include video in a class, but you can include video, correct?
Yeah, it's totally up to you. Like, for example, I would encourage you to go to the Lifter LMS website. There's a link at the top. It used to be called case studies. I shortened it to examples. Whatever you're listening to it might be called one of those 2 names. But if you click on it, there's an awesome WordPress agency called Cause Labs that does websites for nonprofits. Cheryl from Cause Labs did a project in Africa, which was basically an online academy to train women in these rural areas, these trade jobs, so that they could have upward mobility in society and be able to feed their families better and stuff like that. Because of the bandwidth where her customers were, my wife's outside with a saw. I don't know if you can hear it. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
But because of the bandwidth in Africa where this LMS was deployed, it's text and image mostly. So really, it's whatever you want to do. There is that whole argument for different learning styles from text, video, audio, auditory, kinesthetic, get people taking action. This is where our assignments add-on really comes in. But you don't have to do it all. Like, you can start with just a text-only course, and we have plenty of people that do that. And you don't have to do video. Right. And even if you do video, you don't necessarily have to put your face on it. Like, you can do more presentation style. Like, one of the things I see beginners do often with video is they will go into a Zoom room by themselves, a meeting, press the record button, and record a private meeting with themselves where they present a slide deck. And then they do no editing. That can be your first video lesson, just as an idea.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And then I think this will be my last question. I'm just keep paying attention to time for you. Self-paced versus time limits on courses. Is there a benefit to one or the other? And how do you make that decision?
This is a great question.
They're all great questions, Chris.
It really depends. I think people tend to overdo it on the drip content and the time control, because what happens is there's like, especially now as people like have this behavior, like we were talking about TikTok earlier or Netflix, there is something in our society now called binge mode. And sometimes people will come into like a learning environment, whether it's a course or a membership, and they're like, I'm all in 100%. Don't slow those people down. And maybe somebody else is like, you know what? I have a day job, a night job, kids at home, and I need to chip away at this thing like really slowly. And then you may have like your average learner. So unless you have a really good reason to do drip content or prerequisites, well, definitely prerequisites is different, where if one lesson builds on the previous, there's just a lot of factors to take into account. I'm a big fan of self-paced. There's another layer you didn't mention in your question, which is the cohort based.
Right.
So if you're going to do it and you're going to like launch it through this like 1 week or marketing window or whatever, and then you're going to have a cohort of people move through and they're going to like become friends with each other and share and stuff like that, that can be helpful too. So there's cohorts, there's drip content, there's prerequisites. It's really about designing the best experience that you want, and also being mindful of the different speeds and preferences of different types of learners, because they're not all the same. That's a big lesson that teachers learn.
Yep. And then when it comes to internal training, so let's say that I'm working for Starbucks. I've never worked there. I love coffee, so that's why it's always my go-to example. But let's say you're working at Starbucks and you really only want to give them a week to be able to respond to all those things to remain employed, then that's a different situation by putting a time limit on getting that coursework done. Or even a specific class, you have to finish it within a certain amount of time, correct?
Totally. And this is where you could get fancy with something like WP Fusion, like where maybe it's going to like ping a manager after a week with a link for the dashboard so they can, hey, go check on the progress of so-and-so. Yeah. There's all kinds of different use cases.
Fantastic. So if anybody wants to take advantage of using Lifter LMS, again, it's free in the plugin repository. So if you go to wordpress.org, go to plugins, search for Lifter LMS, you're going to find that there. If you want to upgrade and get some paid add-ons or one of the bundles, you just can use the discount code SENTREE, SENTREE, for 15% off. Thank you so much for offering that to our listeners. Appreciate that. And appreciate your time today, Chris, for sure. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we let you go?
Sure. Yeah, go visit us at lifterlms.com. If you're just dipping your toe in the water, go check out our podcast. It's called LMS Cast, where we really geek out about this whole industry. So if you're new to teaching online or online business or this kind of thing, go check that out. And also, there are great solutions in the WordPress community for different things. We have something called the WordPress LMS Buyer's Guide, which can help you ask the right questions no matter what tools you're looking at, both in and outside of WordPress, so that you can, because what I see is a lot of people get into this like heavy research mode, and then they get overwhelmed because there's like all these options everywhere that do all these different things that, go check out the WordPress LMS Buyer's Guide as well.
So we do have one last question from Newton. I called him Martin in the thing, but Newton Martin. He's wanting to know about the security of Lifter LMS. I know you mentioned the GDPR earlier, but if you could just give us a minute on Lifter LMS security.
Absolutely. So I'm the non-technical co-founder. My co-founder, Thomas Levy, is all about security. It's like what he wakes up in the morning thinking about. So we've designed the software it's a security first approach. And we also have a lot of like training webinars and stuff about how to lock down your WordPress site even more than the defaults. But yeah, by default, you have individual user accounts. the content's protected. Unless somebody's enrolled and supposed to have access, they can't get to it. And haven't announced this publicly yet, but I'll let it be known here that we like to push the boundaries and really be a model of how to do freemium in WordPress. And one of the ways we're doing that actually is through a lot of security research, where we hire outside help to test against Lifter LMS to make sure it is beyond just okay security, but top level security. So that's we haven't announced that yet, but there's a whole security program that is part of Lifter as well.
That's great. And if you are accepting money and things like that on your website, you absolutely want to make sure that you have the security levels in place to make sure that everybody, not only is people's data secure, but credit card transactions, things like that are also secure for sure. So thank you to everybody out there listening. We'll make this available publicly as soon as YouTube does its video rendering or whatever. So it'll be out there for public consumption. Chris, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And absolutely, I always learn something every time I talk to you. So thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. And thanks for Sentry for having me on your stage. I really appreciate it.
It's our pleasure for sure. Looking forward to doing some more work with you in the future. And so we'll say goodbye to everybody now. We have on August 5th, we have our next webinar with Taylor Walden from GiveWP, and she's going to talk to us about Giving Tuesday, which is coming up in December this year, and how nonprofits should be preparing for Giving Tuesday now. So we'll see you all in August, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks again, Chris.
Thanks.